You're welcome to Dynamic Educational Hub channel, your answer to the very question. In my previous video, I've explained how we can convert angle from one quadrant to the other quadrant, how we can find the other angles that are equivalent to the sine and cosine of some angles. Now in this video, we are going to learn sine and cosine rule. So after learning sine and cosine rule, then we start solving a lot of questions. So we're diving into how we can apply all these things that we have been learning so far in this playlist. Now we are going to start with cosine rule. So let's learn cosine rule first. Now for cosine rule, I don't want to give you the formula. So let's see how the rule is being formed, how we can derive the cosine formula, the cosine rule. Now we have this triangle as shown, and let's label the side and let's label the interior angles. Now for the interior angles, so let's call this angle A. We are using capital letter A, and let's call this angle B, and let's call this angle C. So we want to use what we have known before. That is what we are going to use to prove cosine rule, to derive an expression. Now what do we know before? We know Pythagoras theorem, and Pythagoras theorem is coming from right angle triangle. So if you haven't checked how I prove Pythagoras theorem, I enjoy you to go and watch the video in this playlist. Now for this triangle, we have ABC as the interior angles. Now let's fix the side. Now in order to fix the side, we want to establish relationship between the side and the interior angles. And what is that relationship? Now we name the side according to the interior angles that is opposite to it. So if you look at this interior angles A, this side is opposite to this angle A. So that is why we are going to label it with small letter A. This side is opposite to this angle B. So we label it small letter B. And this side is opposite to this angle C. So we are going to label this side C. Now this side here to here is C. Since we want to use Pythagoras theorem, we must form right angle triangle. Now, how do we form right angle triangle here? It's quite simple. We have two options here. It's either we draw a perpendicular line to this point, we draw it here, and then we extend this line, just like forming exterior angles here. If you haven't watched my Euclidean geometry playlist, my videos, go and watch it. Now we can form it like this, and we form a right angle triangle, or we draw a perpendicular line from this point, draw a perpendicular line from this point coming down until it touches this line. So I'm going to use the later approach. I'm using this one. Now we have two right angle triangle as shown. We have this right angle triangle, and we also have this right angle triangle. So let's label some parts here. The first part we label from here to here, which correspond to the height of this triangle, because this is a perpendicular line from here to here. So that's gave us the height of that triangle. So we use small letter h to represent that. Now coming from this triangle, we need to label this side. So let's label it. So let's call it an unknown, as usual in mathematics, x and y. So let's call it x. Here to here, we call it x. So we know from here to here, we know that is c. So if here to here is x, what will be the value of here to here? So it means that we subtract this x from c. So here to here will now be what? C minus x. So there's no magic here. We have established all this. Now let's use our Pythagoras theorem. What we want to do is we want to find an expression for h using Pythagoras theorem. Now if you look at this h very well, h is part of this triangle, and h is also part of this triangle. So which means we are going to have two different expressions for h, and we are going to equate that. When we equate that, we are proving cosine rule. So let's see how to do that. Now using the first triangle, we are going to have h is equals to square root of a squared minus x squared. Now this is the side of this right angle triangle. This is the hypotenuse here if you use that triangle. Now we have a square will give us h square plus x square. So when you make your h subject of the formula, that is what you are going to get. So you're just using Pythagoras theorem and make your h subject of the formula. So you are going to get this. Now coming to the other side for h, let's make it subject of formula using Pythagoras theorem again. H is double dating here. Is part of this triangle, also part of this triangle. So let's go ahead and do that. Now h here is also what? Square root of b square, your hypotenuse square, minus c minus x square. This side here to here, c minus x square. Now let's express c minus x squared. Let's expand it. Now expanding c minus x squared, you are going to get c minus x multiplied by c minus x. So we have an algebra here. So we want to expand this. If you don't know how to expand this, let me quickly explain this. You just go ahead and multiply this c with the whole of this minus when you multiply x with the whole of this. So c minus x squared will be c open bracket c minus x open bracket c minus x. So you are going to have c times c squared, c multiplied by minus x, you have minus cx, minus x multiplied by c, you have minus cx, then minus x multiplied by minus x, you have x squared. So minus cx minus cx, you have 2cx. So we are going to have minus 2cx. So c minus x squared is equals to c squared minus 2cx plus x squared. So the whole of this has turned to this. So we can go ahead and substitute. Instead of having c minus x squared, you can have c squared minus 2cx plus x squared. So let's go ahead and substitute that. So we have h is equals to square root of b squared minus the whole of this is this c squared minus 2cx plus x squared. Now you have minus 1 outside and you are going to use it to expand the whole of this. So you have your h is equals to square root of b squared. When you use minus 1 here to expand this, you have minus c squared minus 1 multiplied by this, the whole of this, you get plus 2cx minus 1 multiplied by the whole of this, get minus x squared. Someone is asking me, why am I using minus 1? Minus is here, it's still the same thing as minus 1, so I'm using it to expand it. So when you say minus times c squared, you have minus c squared, minus times minus here is plus. So that is what we have here. Now you have an expression for h. Let's go back from the beginning. Now this is another expression for h. So it implies that h is this and h is this. Let me use analog to explain this. Okay, let's use 2 multiplied by 3 is equals to 6, isn't it? That same 6 is also 5 plus 1. So it means that 5 plus 1 will be equals to what? 2 multiplied by 3. That is what we want to use. So if h is this and h is also this, it implies that this and this must be equal. So let's equate them. So equating them, square root of a squared minus x squared will give us square root of b squared minus c squared plus 2cx minus x squared. What we have here, we have equated them. Now square root will cancel square root since they both have square root, so we can cancel out the square root coming from the knowledge of equation. So you are left with a squared minus x squared is equals to b squared minus c squared plus 2cx minus x squared. Let's see something here before collecting items. We have minus x squared here, we also have minus x squared here. So if you add x squared to this side, you must add x squared to this side. So x squared will cancel x squared. That is what I'm saying. Or you bring this minus x squared to the other side, it becomes plus x squared. So and it will cancel this. Or you bring this minus x squared to this side, it becomes plus x squared, it cancel this. So we can remove the minus x squared from the both side. We are left with what? A squared is equals to b squared minus c squared plus 2cx. This is cosine rule. Now let me show you why this is cosine rule, how we can get cosine here. From the knowledge of trigonometry using this triangle, cosine of this angle B, cos B, this angle that you're seeing, will be adjacent over hypotenuse. Cosine of this. Now, in order to fix that, don't forget that we have divided this triangle. We now have a right angle triangle here. So that is the right angle triangle we are using. So the opposite to this angle will be H, the adjacent will be X, and this side will be the hypotenuse A. So we now have cosine of B, this angle will be what? Adjacent X over A. Cos B is equals to X over A. Now try to make X solve the formula here. X will be what? A multiplied by cos B. We now have A cos B. Now go back into this expression. What is the value of X here? A cos B. Now go back and substitute. Wherever you see X, put A cos B. That is the reason why we have what you can see here. You now have, instead of having X, you have A cos B. So you now have your A squared is equals to B squared minus C squared plus 2C multiply, this dot means multiply by A cos B. Another thing to do here is you can rearrange this expression. How do you rearrange this expression? You want to make B subject of the formula. So when you make your B subject of formula, everything here apart from B will cross to the other side. Or when you rearrange this, minus C squared will go and meet A squared, it becomes plus C squared. Now this one that is plus initially, when it cross border, let me use my local language, full border, OMAD minus 2AC cos B. So when it cross border, it cross equal sign, it becomes minus 2AC cos B. So finally you have your B squared is equals to A squared plus C squared minus 2AC cos B. This expression, you can do the same thing for cosine of A. Do the same thing for cosine of C. Now, for you to do the cosine of C, you have to adopt another approach because C here, you don't have right angle that cater for C. To do that, instead of having this line drawn here, you will draw it in another place. You can draw it here and connect it so that you can have your C. You can use your C, but you can use A and B here, this angle A and B. Now, when you do the same thing for cosine of A, and you substitute it here, at the end of the day, you will get expression for A. When you do it for C, you get expression for C. At the end of the day, you will get this for B. What is seen here? B squared is equals to A squared plus C squared minus 2AC cos B. So when you do the same thing for A, you are going to get A squared is equals to B squared plus C squared minus 2BC cos A. Now let me explain this. You don't need to cram anything here. For anything that you are making some sort of formula, you are using the angle that is opposite to it. Now, it's just like your Pythagoras theorem. The only difference is the inclusion of this or this. So let me show the third one. Oh yeah, let's go. For your B squared, you have is equals to A squared plus C squared, the other side, minus 2. You pick this side, you multiply with this side, minus 2AC. Then cosine of what angle? B, the angle that is opposite to this B. The same thing applies to A squared, you have your B squared, the other side, plus C squared, the other side, minus 2 multiplied by this B and C, cos cosine of what angle? Angle that is opposite to A. The same thing with C. C squared will be A squared plus B squared, the other side, minus 2 multiplied by A and B. Cosine of what angle? The angle that is opposite to C. What we have here. Now, when you try to make the angle subject of the formula, what are we going to have? We have this expression. This is cosine rule. So I'm still going to show you how you can use this to solve triangle. So I'm just laying the foundation. Now let's learn sine rule. So we are using this as well to learn sine rule. So let's find the trigonometry ratio of these interior angles that we have here. So we are now going to find that of C. I've explained in cosine rule derivation. Now we have sine A. What will be the sine of this angle? Opposite over hypotenuse. We have opposite, which is H. Hypotenuse is B. That is sine A. Now let's go ahead and find the value of sine B. For sine B, you have opposite over hypotenuse as well. You have your H over A. So we fix that. Now let's do this. We want to find an expression for A over sine A. Your A, side A over sine of the angle that is facing A. That is opposite to A. So it means that A divided, this over means divided, division sign. A divided by, what is sine A from here? H over B, H over B. So it becomes what? A. Now don't forget, from primary school, when you are still young, you can turn division sign to multiplication sign by finding the reciprocal, the multiplicative inverse. And you find the reciprocal or multiplicative inverse of H over B. So that gives you A multiplied by B over H. You have what? A times B, AB over H. So A over sine A, using this diagram, will give you AB over H. Let's find another expression for sine B here. Now what do we want to do? We want to find B over sine B. For B over sine B, you have your B divided by, what is sine B? H over A. And that gives you B multiplied by, find the reciprocal of this. That will give you A over H, which is B multiplied by A over H. B multiplied by A here, you have AB over H. Now look at it. A over sine A is AB over H. B over sine B is also AB over H. And when you do that for C over sine C, you are still going to get AB over H. So here we can see that what? A over sine A will still be the same thing as B over sine B, still be the same thing as C over sine C. Now what it implies is that in a triangle, the ratio of the side to the sine of angle that is opposite or facing the side is always constant. So which means that when you have a triangle, when you pick any side, the sine of angle to that side, when you divide them, you will get the same answer. If you pick the other side and you divide the sine of the angle that is facing the other side by them. So that is sine rule. It's not enough to learn how to prove sine rule, but how can we apply it? We can apply it to solve various questions in mechanics, in physics, and even applied mathematics. So in my subsequent video, I'm going to solve questions using sine and cosine rule. Make sure you watch my subsequent video, and if you haven't subscribed to this channel, kindly subscribe to this channel, like, share, and comment in the comment section. All right, thank you for watching this video. See you in the next video. Check out my various playlists. All right, bye for now.